There's a lot more to sexual orientation than just being gay or straight. So let's get straight into our gayest episode yet.
You may have heard people talking about how sexuality is a spectrum and thought, hey, wait a second, isn't Spectrum a James Bond film? And you're wrong, it's called Spectre. A spectrum is a completely different thing.
A spectrum is like a line, gay, bisexual, straight, and they're all somewhere along the same line.
When you talk about your sexuality, that doesn't have to be just gay or straight. In fact, most of us exist somewhere in between those terms.
Some people might feel the pressure to label themselves right away because they've had some same-sex attraction.
Some people might know straight away, but if you don't, just recognise these feelings and know that they might shift and change.
It's like how I used to eat no vegetables, and then I ate some vegetables, and now I'm vegetarian.
I figured out that I was gay, I reckon, and this is a very embarrassing way, through playing the game The Sims, because I just always used to make the boy Sims kiss each other, and I never knew why. And then years later I was like, oh, that's why.
I was pretty young when I started to realise that I had feelings towards other boys at school, but it took me a very long time to accept it within myself and to start telling people. I was 20 when I first came out to someone, and then it was about an 8-month process after that before I'd told everyone in my life. My parents were the last people that I told because I was really, really terrified about how they might react. I was really scared that they might not be okay with it and might not be accepting, but they were, especially Mum. She was amazing. Dad took a little bit of time to get used to it, but I remember Mum saying to me, don't forget, it took you 20 years to be okay with being gay, so you need to give other people time to be okay with it as well. And he came around and we have a fantastic relationship now, and they're both very, very supportive.
Sexual orientation is a term used to describe who a person might be interested in romantically or sexually.
There are different labels out there you can use to define your sexuality, but it's up to you whether you use them. Not everyone wants to define their sexual orientation with some sort of label.
You probably hear gay and straight and you're like, yeah, got it, know it. And maybe bisexual too. But there are other labels. Asexual, omnisexual, queer, questioning, pansexual. There's a whole smorgasbord.
As I was growing up, my idea of my sexuality changed a lot, and there was a bit of pressure to put labels on things. But as I got more information from my friends and from the internet, I found that the term pansexual best describes my sexuality, meaning that I'm attracted to people of all different genders.
So there's a bunch of different sexual orientations that sit on the spectrum, and it's just important to go with what works for you.
Whether that means labels, off-brand, or no words at all, that's sweet as. Your sexuality is personal to you.
In my experience, finding my own sexuality was very easy and seemed really obvious. But as I get older, it seems less and less obvious, and I really enjoy how changing and shifting it's become.
A label with a lot of different uses is queer. It used to be used negatively, but now it's been reclaimed by the rainbow community and can be used to encompass a lot of different gender and sexual identities in one word.
There are some sexual identities that are unique to certain cultures, like the Māori term takatapui.
Takatapui incorporates a person's Indigenous identity with their sexual identity, and it's a term that is unique to Māori culture.
Sexual attraction and romantic attraction, they're two different things. Your sexual attraction might make you feel like a tiger, rawr. But your romantic attraction might make you feel like a little bunny.
Some people find that they have to be both sexually and romantically into someone to do intimate things with them. And that's cool. But sexual attraction and romantic attraction don't always go hand in hand. And that's cool too.
So being into someone sexually and being into someone romantically are two different things. It's kind of like that game, Kiss, Marry, Kill, but without all the murdering.
You could be romantically attracted to girls, but still sexually attracted to guys, or you could be romantically attracted to people, but not experience sexual attraction, and that's fine.
And look, we're so busy talking about sex, but it is important to say that some people don't want to have sex ever. You know, they feel the same way about sex that I feel about onions. No, never, ever.
So asexuality can mean somebody that experiences no sexual attraction, or somebody that does but just chooses not to act on it. Somebody who identifies as asexual might still have romantic feelings and relationships.
Here are some things that people should actually have to come out about.
It's time for me to come out. I'm still using an iPhone 4.
Mum, Dad, it's time I told you. I'm a Star Trek fan, not a Star Wars fan.
I like early 90s hip-hop.
I really love Nickelback.
I'm a cat person. I have to tell you.
I don't like bananas. Sorry.
I hate Riverdale.
I can't drive manual. I don't know what this does. Why are there 3 pedals?
I don't like wearing Birkenstocks. They feel weird.
While we're on this topic, I actually have a confession to make myself. It's quite hard to say this. I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones.
In a lot of ways, the fact that people who aren't straight have to come out is unfair because no one ever has to come out as straight.
But it can also be a great feeling and a really exciting moment.
I was very lucky when I had a friend when I was at uni come out to me and tell me he was gay, and I took that as a huge compliment that I was someone that you. It's like I often get asked for directions. I don't know why, because I'm an idiot and I don't know where anything is. But I take it as a compliment because I wear glasses and it seems like I'm smart and I'll know where things are. And so I took it as a huge compliment when a friend told me he was gay. I was like one of the first people he told, and I felt honoured just because I felt like it was good because I was a safe person to talk to and someone who might not be a dick about it.
But guess what? If you identify as anything other than straight, the choice to come out is totally yours. And you get to decide when you want to do it and who to. And just remember, you don't owe it to anyone.
There's no right or wrong way to come out. Although wrapping yourself up under the Christmas tree and using confetti could be fun.
You also don't have to have an exact label. Maybe you aren't sure whether you want to call yourself bi or gay, but you know that you're not straight, so it doesn't mean that, you shouldn't be open about it.
First of all, it's really important to figure out if you're ready. Not whether other people want to know or they're too curious. It's about what feels right to you. And maybe you just want to start out with people that you trust and feel close to.
There's no right order of people to tell. You don't have to tell your mum first. And it's important to remember that if someone you tell has a negative reaction, it might not be their last reaction.
You coming out probably means you've been thinking about this for a while, but it might be breaking news to them, and also they might have some other stuff going on at the moment.
If they don't jump on board straight away, give them some time to process the information. They might think differently once they've had time to gather their thoughts.
Maybe you're in an environment where you don't feel safe to come out, but your safety is the most important thing, so don't put yourself at risk.
If you're in an environment where you don't feel safe to come out, make sure you only talk to someone you trust.
And if that person isn't a friend or family member, there's other people you can talk to, like a counsellor or Rainbow Youth.
No sexual orientation is normal or abnormal, but some people think being straight is the default.
And it's really common.
I mean, think about the movies that you see. Most of the characters are probably straight, and if it's a love story, you're pretty unlikely to see 2 princes running off into the sunset together.
It's important to remember that there are lots of different kinds of happy endings.
The idea that being straight is somehow better than being queer is part of homophobia.
Homophobia comes from a place of fear. People might treat someone badly because they can't handle that they're different from them.
And some people might even become abusive. But it might even be something like burning your tongue on a hot pie and going, "Oh, that's so gay."
That's not gay, you egg. It's sore, but it's not gay.
Better words to use when you burn your tongue on a pie could be ouch, or sucks, or always blow on the pie.
Be an ally. Just because you're straight, it doesn't mean you can't call other people out when they say something is so gay.
I have a friend that's gay, and I know lots of gay people and lesbian people, and with my friend in particular, sometimes we've been in situations where people have said to him, "Are you gay?" And I quickly turn around, or I try and intercept the conversation and say to the other person, "Does it matter?" And the reason why I do that is to take the uncomfortable situation off my mate and put it back onto the other person and call them out on their beep.
Suppressing or denying your feelings can end up being really exhausting, and you might end up feeling pretty crappy. Acknowledging those feelings doesn't mean changing your whole life or finding one specific label. It could be as simple as finding a cool queer role model who's just out there doing life. You could try looking on YouTube.
When society sends only negative messages about being anything other than being straight, it can cause you to feel confused, angry, or even in denial if you're experiencing attraction towards the same sex. This is often called internalized homophobia.
For a lot of people in our community, we feel like we need to, don't talk about it because it's taboo. But I just encourage you, you need to let it out, whether it be to a friend or a counsellor.
If your sexuality is outside the norm, that is awesome. That's part of you, that's part of the big tapestry of you. It's also not the only thing about you, but it's something that is part of your life, and there's no reason to not be proud of that.
Thanks for the real sex talk, New Zealand On Air.